Here is Obese Man. Obese Man wants to become Thin Man or Fit Man. And he's not quite sure how to do that. I talk a lot about how one of the best ways for obese to become Fit Man is to drink a lot of water. A lot of water does many things for you. It raises your pH level. If your pH level is raised, you have an alkaline environment in your body rather than acidic. And we do not like acidic. Acidic environments are mostly caused by your arch enemy in the health world, which is this word. Now, sugar itself is not a bad thing. There's kind of like two meanings to sugar, kind of like there's two meanings to fat. So, one meaning for fat in society is if someone is obese, we call them fat. The other meaning is, for example, um, I want to say phospholipids. Lipids are fats. So fat meaning like not the ingredient, but the nutrient. So here's your phospholipids from microbiology. If I can remember the picture, your phospholipids are on the edge of the membrane of the cell or something like that. But fat surrounds your organs and fats. There's many different kinds of fats. We have good fats and bad fats. Good fats are the monounsaturated, polyunsaturated. Bad fats are saturated, which is animal fats and trans. So, fat, we call people fat, which isn't nice, but it's what a term that we use. And then there's fat that's the actual nutrients. And you have the good ones. These are found in almonds, a lot of vegetables like mushrooms, avocados, and you want good fats because again, your body needs fat. It needs fat for your nails, your hair, your organs, your cells. All cells have phospholipids, and the bad fats are trans fats are. I believe I read once that they are completely man-made in laboratories, but that might not be all the way true. But trans fats are not good. Saturated fat comes from animals, which isn't the worst thing in the world, but um, so saturated fat is like on a piece of steak. You have the white marbly stuff. That's saturated fat. That's not this kind of fat, like coconut oil. These are good. So you want fat. If you don't eat fat, you actually won't feel satiated. You'll feel like something's missing. You need fat every day because your body needs these nutrients. So see how there's two definitions? One definition contains something very, very good and valuable. So fat is not bad. And a lot of people just think fat is bad. It's not. Fat is actually good. And fat has been eaten by everyone on the face of the planet because it's a requirement by your body. And you can have some saturated fat, it's just not as healthy. And trans fat is actually really bad. You find these in like pastries and stuff that's just chemical and man made. So fat is actually good. And it's good to train your mind to think of fat as good. I love fat. I eat fat all the time. I go out of my way to find fat, but fat in the form of like almond milk, soy milk, almonds, avocados. I said mushrooms. I can't, you know, there's a lot of stuff that you can even research and find. Oh, coconut oil. I eat coconut oil all the time. Find good fats to eat and go out of your way to eat them. I mean, yogurt has some. And here's the thing. Okay, so I'm going to come back to this up here, but when you buy yogurt at the store, it will say um, low fat because people think fat is bad. But what they don't tell you is that when they remove the fat out of the yogurt, the flavor goes with it because fat is flavorful. And in order to get the flavor back in, they have to put something in there. So they load it up with sugar. And if you read the nutrient label, the sugar will be like 30% of your daily value, you know, or I don't know the exact percentage, but it'll just be really high up there. And they have to load the yogurt with sugar to make up for the fat. The thing is, fat isn't even bad. Fat is a nutrient your body needs. Your body does not need sugar at all. Except, now let's go up here, the good kind of sugar. Now there's two, so this is like these definitions. Sugar, except they're both nutrients, but there's a good and a bad definition. The good sugar, or a good and a bad sugar, just like there's good fats and bad fats, but train yourself to think of fat as good and seek out the good fat. But so there's good and bad sugars. The good sugars are in carbs. And I'm going to get to this. Your brain only runs on sugar. Your specifically it's called glucose. Your brain does not run on fat or protein. It needs glucose. So you have to eat sugar in order for your brain to function. So you actually do eat sugar all the time. Carbs, the definition of a carb is anything that breaks down and is stored in the body as glycogen. And do you see the glyco? Glycogen is the stored version of sugar. Glycose is the active version currently being used. So carbs break down into glycogen, stored as glycogen, used as glucose. Everything breaks down into sugar. Because sugar, everything, I'll talk about that later. But so we have, okay, so vegetables break down into glucose. Fruits break down into glucose. Wheat and bread, nuts. Actually, I don't think nuts do because nuts are fat and protein. But a lot of things, vegetables and fruits break down into glucose. And so flour does too. So here's where we're going to go. Now, this flour, we're going to go up here to the bad sugar now. So the good sugar is your fruits and vegetables because they break down into sugar. They're carbs. Now, the bad sugar is what we call processed sugar. And the way that processed sugar shows up is usually in the form, well, first of all, of white sugar that they put into everything. And these have disguised names like anything ending in OSE, any big scientific name on your ingredient list that you can't read. You have your maltose, your dextrose, your galactose, your fructose. Okay, just so there's all kinds of molasses, you know, corn syrup, molasses syrup, all kinds of different names for sugar. But yeah, so those forms, those scientific names, and white sugar, the reason why it's so bad is because it's processed, meaning they take the cane sugar plant and they just saturate it. They put cane sugar plant actually doesn't have that much sugar, but they take a bunch of them and saturate it all into a small little amount, or it's saturated, a bunch of sugar in one place, where your liver can only process 1 teaspoon of processed sugar. Not tablespoon, but teaspoon per day. Not this stuff down here, not sugar from vegetables and fruit, because this turns into glucose and your brain uses it. I'm talking about processed sugar that's saturated. But anyways, so white sugar is a bad kind of sugar that they just put in everything because it's saturated. Whereas down in fruits and vegetables, it's not saturated. It's like just a little bit of sugar, so that it tastes sweet, surrounded by a bunch of fiber, a bunch of nutrients, a bunch of vitamins, a bunch of water. Whereas processed sugar is all saturated and just so much sugar in the product that it's just way more than your liver can handle. Vegetables and fruits have very little sugar that it doesn't affect the liver. Anyway, so processed sugar and flour, because they tend to put a lot of sugar in flour. So don't mind my cat just sitting here bathing himself if you hear that. Um, so flour, I consider both white flour, not healthy flour. Like flour and bread is supposed to be dark, like dark rye bread. Oats are kind of light, but raw oats, barley, they're supposed to be dark. White flour and white bread has no nutritional value, and they often put sugar in there because if you notice, bread is sweet, white bread is sweet, whereas the dark stuff is usually not so sweet. Well, it can depend, but I know for sure that white flour, they oh my gosh, there's so much information on this. This could be a whole other video. What they do with um, grains these days is they remove the starch. They take the fiber part out of the grain and they keep the starch. So it's all just starch going into your bread. Whereas the nice wheat bread, the rye, the barley, the dark ones, they keep the fiber in there. So anyways, white flour, they add sugar, they keep the starch, they take out the fiber. And then in order, because they took out the fiber, they have to add um, all these minerals, which is why you see that and then it's called enriched. They take out the fiber and enrich them, quote unquote, with um, I can't think. The only thing I can think of off the top of my head is niacin or potassium, and they have to add all these things in here. Why don't they just leave the fiber part in? I don't know. But they add sugar into white flour, so I consider white sugar and white flour both to be in the same group of bad sugar. Okay, so there's good sugar and bad sugar. Now, I do eat bad sugar. Like, I'll let myself have whatever I want whenever I want, but there's this principle I go by called the 80/20 rule. So, and it can depend on where you are in your journey. So, you can make this 70/30, 60/40, however much, wherever you are. It doesn't have to be 80/20 right away. But 80% of the time, I try to eat healthy, and then 20% of the time, I eat whatever the heck I want. And sorry if my camera's going in and out of focus. I have kind of a weird camera, but I mean, I'm doing this on my phone, and it's kind of I need to get another phone or something. Okay, so 80% of the time, I try to eat clean. But if you're not there yet, even if you can only do 50% of the time, try to eat healthy, and then 50% of the time, eat whatever you want. It's better than nothing because at least you're eating healthy half the time. And then slowly move that up to 60/40, 70/30, and then 80/20. So 80% of the time, I eat fruits and vegetables, wheat, nice nuts, where did our good fats go? Our good fats, our good sugars. And then 20% of the time, I will let myself eat whatever the heck I want. If I want to eat bad fats, if I want to eat bacon with all that saturated fat, if I want to eat a bunch of pastries with white flour and white sugar, I will. But it's about 20% of the time, which is a big chunk. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. That's one. That's a big part of your day, but it's not so big because the 80% far outweighs it, and so it doesn't do anything to your health. But it is a good chunk so that you can actually live life and enjoy stuff. So don't ever cut out anything quote unquote bad all the way because you need to keep your sanity. So don't cut out white flour, white sugar, your bacon, your sausage. Just try to aim to eat healthier more than you eat those things, and the healthiness will overrule that. Especially if you're eating 80% of the time healthy, that's a lot. So, obese man, starting to drink water. His pH level is staying up so that it can be alkaline. And he's reducing his acidic environment by reducing the bad sugars and well, don't even consider fat bad at all. There are some bad fats, but the biggest culprit to chronic obesity is sugar, not even fat. I mean, bad fat has its stuff, but bad sugar is in everything. It is in absolutely everything. It's in ketchup. If you look at high fructose corn syrup, all those OSE things, except don't where did that go? My vegetables and fruits. Those break down into glucose. So don't think of, especially fruits. People think it's bad to eat fruits because they're sweet and they have sugar. That is so retarded. Fruits have good sugar that your brain needs. The bad sugar is in everything. Ketchup, all your condiments, your cereals, just so many things. I bought this frozen yam once because I wanted a vegetable for dinner and I was short on time. I got home, it was just microwavable, put it in the oven or the microwave, and it tasted like Sugar. They put so much sugar in this frozen yam that it tasted like candy. I was so mad. I just assumed it was going to be healthy because it said yam. I didn't realize they were going to put so much sugar into it because I didn't read the nutrition label. Kitty cat. Um, and I, I felt like I was eating candy, a candy yam. So they put sugar in the most stupid things. A yam is already sweet, it doesn't need sugar. Um, so they put it in everything, juice, things that say low fat, they'll just dump a bunch of sugar in there. They put it in yogurt. Read the nutrition labels and you'll see there's so much added sugar. Now, regular sugar is okay. There's going to be sugar in things because your brain needs it. But the amount of added sugar in America, and talking about America, and then because America is obese, right? We're 2/3 obese. And the Western diet is, here's the globe, the Western diet is now going into other countries and getting just crazy. Um, so yeah, in America, if you look at the nutrition labels, sugar is in everything. It's just crazy and it's keeping people obese. Obese man doesn't realize how much sugar is in everything, but he's going to start reading his nutrition labels. He's going to start eating more fruits and vegetables. And if there's a way to make fruits and vegetables tasty, like salads these days, and the toppings, like I go nuts on toppings. You can have bad fats in your toppings. You can have some bad sugar in your toppings.